Broadcasting from the KMF Collective Studio, it's time for the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. This limited release show features the stories of the 2020 contestants of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's athletic competition, NBC's The Titan Games. Now, here's your host, Katie Galley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 19 of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. In the KMF Collective Studio with me today, I have Titan Games athlete, 6-time CrossFit Games athlete, 2012 CrossFit Games second place finisher, and firefighter Matt Chan. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for stopping by and being willing to share your story with us today.
It's my pleasure.
Well, Matt, I'm super excited to dive in. So just to get to know your background a little bit, can you tell us where you grew up and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was a swimmer from the age of 5 until I graduated from high school and played a whole bunch of other sports around that time as well. And then when I went to college, I decided that I was going to try something other than swimming, and I played water polo at Western Illinois University. And then since then, I picked up skiing, mountain biking, and climbing as my primary outdoor sports. And living in Colorado, that's been mostly what I've been doing outside of gym stuff.
That's that's pretty awesome, living in Colorado, getting the opportunity to do all those different outside sports.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, Matt, swimming all the way through high school, what made you decide that you wanted to kind of make that shift and try water polo once you went to college?
So swimming's mostly an individual sport. Even when you're, on a relay as a group of 4, it's still an individual performance. Whereas water polo, it's more like hockey or soccer, where, you run plays and you work as a team, and to be successful, each member of the team has to play their part. And I was really looking forward to trying something like that, because most of the sports that I did growing up were individual sports, which can get kind of lonely. Mm-hmm. And after trying out on the team, it was just an absolute blast, and I fell in love with team sports after that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, coming from a highly individualized sport and then kind of craving that that team atmosphere, and so being able to support one another. And so was your training then for swimming really helped you with water polo?
Yeah, so that wasn't the swimming side of things wasn't an issue at all. I mean, I performed very well as far as being able to get up and down the pool, but it was the specific skill of ball handling and the plays that we would run that I needed to learn. And I had a great time learning it. And when I started, we were unranked. And by my senior year in college, we were ranked 9th in the nation. So it was very rewarding to have that progression over 4 years.
I bet. Being able to be a part of something that grew that much. Even from its early stages, from being unranked to 9th. And so then, Matt, did you have aspirations after college to maybe try and continue your water polo career or swimming career?
I did, but I moved to Winter Park, Colorado, which is a small mountain town in the mountains of Colorado. And I basically was isolated to a rec center and outdoor sports. So that was really what I had access to. And that's how I got involved in things like mountain biking and skiing, where, the people that I worked with, that's the sports that they participated in. Mm-hmm. And I made a lot of friends, and it was great to go out on recreational outings doing that stuff.
Yeah. I bet it is. And so, Matt, then what brought you ultimately to Colorado at that time?
So I graduated from college in 2001. And I know a lot of people don't remember this, but it's kind of like, the age of the birth of the internet, and there was a lot of .coms that folded at that time. And there was a lot of IT industry professionals that, they had a lot of experience. And when they lost their jobs, they flooded the market with the workforce that basically had experience. And I didn't have experience. And had no luck at getting a job. So for a while there, I was just cooking pizzas at the resort so that I could enjoy ski bumming all winter long. But I eventually landed a job in the IT department at Winter Park Resort. So I was able to have the best of both worlds, where I could be a ski bum and work in the IT field for a number of years.
Wow, there you go, living the dream.
Yeah.
And so did you, was it really just the introduction of, I guess, the boom of the internet that made you realize that you wanted to try and get into IT and the technical side, or had you studied that in college?
So yeah, I did study. I was an information management major in college. I minored in computer science. So my idea was to, land a secure job that, when I decided to have a family or, save for retirement, that, I'd have a job that paid well, and, I was young, and, I wanted to set myself up for the future. But unfortunately for me, I didn't enjoy the job as much as I thought I would. So, that's kind of how I started kind of getting introduced to the firefighting career that I end up in.
And so, how did that come about? I guess being an active person, were you looking for a more active career to pursue, or did it just kind of this opportunity present itself? How did you ultimately become a firefighter?
Yeah, I think subconsciously I was looking forward to a more physical job.
Mm-hmm.
I had kicked around the idea of joining the ski patrol the following year, but ultimately the way I ended up started firefighting was there was a woman named Peggy that worked in human resources at Winter Park Resort, and she invited me to go have pizza with her one night. And it turned out that pizza was at the fire department, the local volunteer fire department, and it was her idea to recruit me into volunteer firefighting. And
Wow.
yeah, so I ended up going through the academy at East Grand Fire, and did that for about 3.5 years. And during that time, I started pursuing a career as a firefighter in the Denver area.
Wow. And so at that time, Matt, making that shift of realizing you wanted that active career to pursue, and then kind of being introduced then to firefighting, how did CrossFit start to become part of your journey?
Yeah, so firefighting is a really physical job.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the tasks that we have to perform, there's no practicing it, because it's just something that's randomly happened to somebody, or something that we need to take care of. And a lot of these tasks I was not very good at. I didn't perform well on the fire ground, and I also had a hard time when I would put on my bunker gear, my SCBA, carry a tool, drag a hose, drag a dummy in the academy. And I mentioned this to some guys, and they recommended I look into CrossFit. And CrossFit was kind of new at the time. It was early 2007. And I did. I looked on CrossFit.com and checked out the website and looked at the workouts, and they seemed kind of crazy. and they packed a punch, and I really enjoyed it. So I just kind of stuck with it for a while.
And that makes a lot of sense, the similarities and needing to be in that constant state of preparedness. So then CrossFit allowing you to do that for your career as a firefighter ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. CrossFit is a general physical preparedness program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what firefighters thrive in. Is we're not going to ever be experts in anything, but we'll be generally pretty good at almost anything. And that's really, if you do specialize in any one area of fitness, generally you're going to get punished because you're going to lack capacities elsewhere. And that's exactly what happens in firefighting. So.
Yeah. And that does make a lot of sense. So then CrossFit really does seem like a perfect fit for that. And so Matt, then obviously you started CrossFit because of your pursuits as a firefighter, but then of course going to the CrossFit Games is another beast in and of itself. So when did you make that decision of, okay, I want to see now too how far I can take my CrossFit career?
Well, that's kind of a funny question, because when people think of the CrossFit Games now, it's they think of the the lights, the glamour, the audience, the the crazy equipment and the really large scale events. But back when I went to my first CrossFit Games, I paid a fee and signed a waiver, and I was in the CrossFit Games. So back in 2008, it was a very different beast altogether. So, it quickly ramped up as it gained popularity, and people wanted to be involved in it. Much like many other sports that started small and grew quickly.
Right.
But luckily I was there at the ground floor of it all, and was able to be a part of it from the very beginning, and continue to be a part of it for 6 years. And the competition side of actually applying the the method of CrossFit to competition was extremely exciting for me. And I just fell in love with not only the physical fitness side of it and being physical, but also just, I love competing. I hadn't felt that in so long, that when I started doing the CrossFit competitions, it was like, oh, I remember this and I love it. Oh my gosh.
I love that, being able to satisfy that drive that you had. It never went away, but maybe you'd forgotten about it, and then all of a sudden it's reinvigorated. And two, you can't, I mean, of course, you can say you got in on the ground floor, but you can't discount the fact that you went to 6 CrossFit Games. So it's not like it was a fluke thing.
Yeah. I was telling somebody earlier that I'm often embarrassed to mention that first year, because it was just a sign up and go sort of thing. But I'm also proud of it, because, when it came down to CrossFit competition, we had to learn to be more efficient with a lot of the exercises so that we could perform them faster. And the guys that I competed against back then, we were making up those movements as we went along. So it was a lot of fun,
That sounds amazing. And yeah, you should never be embarrassed by that. It's incredible that you got to be on the ground floor, and then moreover, from that first year, be a part of it, or for 6 subsequent years, and then continue to do it now. I mean, it's just, you were a part of the beginning, and you proved yourself again and again. And so too, then, Matt, making the shift. So of course you said, swimming early on, and then you made that shift of, loving to play team sports in water polo, and then making that shift back again in CrossFit. What was that like for you, I guess, mentally, going back to that individualized sport?
Well, that's interesting, because they didn't have a team. Now they have a team CrossFit competition every year. But at the time, 2008, 2009, that really wasn't established. So the individual option was really all I had. And it was funny, because I really liked relying on my skills that I had built for myself. And I was good at it. So I didn't want to have to rely on other people's ability levels in those CrossFit competitions. So at that time, it allowed me to showcase what I had learned and practiced over a couple of years, and really test myself out against other people. So the individual side of that was actually very fulfilling for me, because it showed me where my strengths and weaknesses were.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, being able to wholly focus on yourself in this newfound sport. It was new to not just you, but to everyone. And so learning your own strengths and weaknesses, and like you said, kind of figuring it out as you went.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
And so then, Matt, getting further and further into the sport, growing into it, leading up to 2012, and working towards, that podium finish. What was it like for you to finally, get into that top 3 and finish in second place in 2012?
Yeah, so my best finish prior to that was in 2010, and finished 4th place, just shy of the podium. And to work so hard in 2012 and have such great competitors that I had to face, much younger competitors at that time too. I was getting up there in age. I think I was 34 or 35 at the time. It really was just, it was the pinnacle of my fitness level, but also my mentality. My mental state was just very focused. And when I went to that CrossFit Games, I felt healthier than I'd ever felt to that point, and I wouldn't let anything get in my way. So unfortunately, I didn't take the podium, but one of those experiences that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, because I mean, I stood on the podium at the CrossFit Games. There's very few people that can say that.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. It's because you're right. You can work your whole life to do something, and it's taking you 5 years to get there. But finishing top 3 is incredible. And two, being an early adopter, being there from the start, and being able to work and prove yourself more and more every year until you finally hit that podium finish. And so, Matt, now for you, is CrossFit still a big part of your life? Are you still heavily involved with the sport?
Yeah. So not the sport. I am heavily involved in the exercise.
Yeah.
I train using CrossFit on a daily basis. I've reduced some of the intensity to suit my age and the fact that I'm not training for the CrossFit Games. I'm training for firefighting and general health and longevity. And because of that, I've reduced some of the movements as well that I used to do. I no longer perform handstand push-ups because, I was having neck problems from doing them. My knee and back occasionally give me problems, so I usually don't go extremely heavy with the weights. I like to keep it pretty manageable. But yeah, CrossFit is a big part of my life. I'm actually, as soon as we get off the phone, that's my next plan, is to go do a quick workout and get on with the rest of the day.
There you go. I love it. And I love that too. CrossFit really lends itself to that. You can train to the highest level of trying to become that professional athlete, go to the CrossFit Games, or like you said, it's that general preparedness, that functional fitness of, I am training to be a better version of myself. I'm training because I'm a firefighter. I'm training for whatever reason it is. And it's to help you and make you a better version of that thing that you're pursuing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, honestly, it's what gives me confidence that I can go participate in a lot of these outdoor sports without doing them regularly.
Yeah.
So I don't ski every day. I don't go climbing every day. I don't go mountain biking every day. I don't go hiking every day. But I know that when I do go, I'm not going to have a problem with it, because I've been maintaining my fitness in a varied way so that I cover all my bases and I have a general preparedness for everything. Mm-hmm. So, it sounds like a sales pitch, but in reality, I truly believe that in my heart, that there is no better program for somebody that's looking to just be healthy and capable.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You're living in that state, and you can be just prepared to do kind of any sport or anything that comes up your way. And in that light, so when this season, for the season 2 of the Titan Games, how did that opportunity present itself, and what made you decide it was something you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I watched season 1 because I like The Rock, number one.
Yeah.
And also I have a friend named Jessica Griffith who was on season 1, and I wanted to follow her journey, and it was really fun to watch. And at the end of the season finale, I think it was The Rock said that you can be a part of season 2 by going online and applying and submitting a video of yourself for season 2. And that's what I did. I did it that night. And I hadn't heard anything for, months and months and months. I think that was probably in March. And I heard back from them in November and asked if I still had interest. And how do you say no to that?
Right.
So that's where my Titans journey started.
I love it. Talk about constantly being prepared, right? You had this is a random TV show opportunity, but you're ready for it, and you're going to say yes because you are physically prepared to take on this opportunity.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, Matt, then for you, like you said, you love The Rock, and how you got, you knew about season 1 because Jessica Griffith was competing. And so knowing too that The Rock created this show in pursuit of bringing all these incredible people together who've overcome obstacles, do you remember maybe the first time you became aware of who The Rock was? Prior to the Titan Games, just became aware of his presence maybe when you were younger or at some point in your life?
Yeah, so the first I heard of The Rock was in his wrestling career. Mm-hmm. And I had some friends that were into wrestling, and, they talked about the people's eyebrow, and they did, mimicked him to the best they could. And that's the first place I heard of The Rock. And I didn't watch wrestling, so I barely caught any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, you start seeing him in television and movies and action movies. And I mean, he's just such a presence. And since then has obviously expanded his entrepreneurship into all sorts of different realms that you would never expect a person like that to be involved in. And that's where I think I've built the most respect for him is he is a hustler. That man, I can't imagine living, like that, where every day is you have to manage so much stuff, let alone be a 280-pound man made of muscle. I just can't imagine.
That's a really good point. And I love what you said is he's a hustler and, being able to balance all the things that he does and then, creating the things that he does. But then also bringing together in the Titan Games, bringing together a group of people who are hustlers themselves, like what you're doing, your pursuits, and everybody on this show being able to go after their dreams, set these goals. And so then, Matt, for you being able to be surrounded by these individuals for season 2, I wonder, what would you say is your definition of a Titan?
Oh, man. If I had to define it on the spot, I think what I would say is somebody that's overcome adversity, that's challenged themselves on a daily basis to become the best version of themselves and not let anything step in their way. I think that's what I would say a Titan is, because that's what every one of those people that I got the opportunity to meet, both at the Combine and on the show itself, that's what they all shared in common is none of them were spoon-fed success. They all worked for it. They all hustled for it. And to varying degrees, none of them were celebrities, with the exception of an Olympian and a couple of Instagram influencers. None of them were celebrities like The Rock is, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. But they all work hard at what they want to be successful in. And that could be, being a doctor, that could be being a state trooper. They're all very inspiring. So that's what I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. It's being the best, pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself, no matter what it is that you do. Like you said, it's not that you have to be a famous person or this influencer. It's whatever you're doing in your daily life. You're putting yourself out there. You're encouraging others by simply living authentically and doing it is what you do to the very best of your abilities.
Absolutely. Nailed it.
Love that. Well, Matt, leading really truly such an incredible life so far and achieving so many things, and then having now the Titan Games in this new way, this new platform to help you further your own self, your own career, encourage more people and reach more people, and then looking forward knowing that you're going to achieve everything that you set your mind to. I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
What I want to be remembered for is just being a good person that's there for whoever needs me. And that could extend into firefighting. That could be extending into fitness. That could be extending into just lending a hand to somebody that's down. I'd love to be just the person that can help out if help is needed. That's me. That's what I want to be.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's installment of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. To learn more about each of these Titan athletes, be sure to check out their information in the links in my show notes. Furthermore, to stay up to date on all things coming out of the KMF Collective, be sure to subscribe to the Keep Moving Forward YouTube channel and follow along on social media, also available in the show notes. As the creator of the Titan Games, Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says, "Titans aren't born, they're made." And I hope today's story helped you realize all that you are capable of becoming if you put in that hard work and just keep moving forward.